Islam, it's a beautiful religion. Beautiful. And the reason it's beautiful is because it does not deal with utopias. Islam is not interested in the perfect society. Right? Why is that? Because perfection is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything outside of Allah, imperfect. Islam deals with reality. That's the beauty of Islam. It's asking us to challenge ourselves in the real world, with real people and real challenges that you and I face. So the universal challenge, we could say, and this is universal because it goes across cultures, whether you're in America or you're anywhere else. How does one dictate the terms of interacting with the opposite gender? Now, I am going to give what is a very rudimentary framework for doing just that. And it's just a framework. All right, so there's many other, by the way, there's lots of books that are written out there, and you can get into lots of discussions on fiqh and all that stuff. I'm not interested in doing that. In fact, you have Imam Suhaib coming later on today. Ask him the fiqh of Facebook. And I'm not being facetious. He'll actually give you the fiqh of Facebook. He did it, for those that were here last year for his khutbah, he did it then. But it's very important because there are fiqh aspects to it. I'm going to avoid those. Not because they're not important. In fact, we'll see how important they are, especially later on today. But because the purpose of this session is to try and give us some practical steps to how to deal with this. How do we interact with one another? So I'm going to give what is a very rudimentary framework for doing just that, inshallah. By the way, can everyone hear me okay? Yes, no, maybe so? Yes, we can? All right. And is everybody following me okay? That's the other question. Yes? There's a beautiful dua actually I didn't start with. I should have. رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِّسَانِي يَفْقَهُوا قَوْلِي. One of the beautiful aspects about this dua. Anybody know when it was said? Who said this dua? Musa alayhi salam. When did he say it? Before what? Before he gave a speech. More specifically, when did he give it? Yes. When? Okay. When he was commissioned by Allah to go before Fir'aun. All right. When he was commissioned by Allah to go before Fir'aun, he said this beautiful dua. رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِّسَانِي يَفْقَهُوا قَوْلِي. And actually continues after that too. Oh Allah, expand for me my chest, make easy for me my affair, untie this knot from my tongue, make them understand my words. Who's he making dua for? Who are the people? Fir'aun. He's making dua for Fir'aun and his people. To do what? To understand his words. So we make dua for our listeners. Right? And this is what Musa alayhi salam is doing. He's saying, look, it doesn't matter how eloquent my words are. Because if they fall on deaf ears, it's gone. That message is gone. And we're actually going to talk about Musa a little bit later on in this. But I want to begin, and I apologize to the sisters who are sitting here. I'll tell you, nothing here is. The first part of this framework begins with I. And that I stands for? I don't usually write this bad. You'll forgive me. What's the first word? Anybody read it? Can anybody read it up there? Intentions. Intentions. The very first word, or the first letter I should say, is I for intentions. The very first hadith you read in many a hadith book, Arba'in Nawawi and others, is what? إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. That's the beginning of the hadith anyways. Indeed, actions are but by intentions. Niyyah, guys, is everything. Everything. Let me give you a clear example of that. This is where the fiqh comes in. Is it permissible in Islam? Is it permissible to pray with a chair in front of you? Yes or no? Yes or no? Is it permissible to pray with a chair, a sutra, in front of you? Yes, it is. Absolutely. You can pray with a chair in front of you. What if you are praying to that chair? No. The action looks exactly the same. Whether you're praying with the chair in front of you or to that chair, it looks like a salah. What's the difference here? The niyyah. The niyyah has made the action haram. You guys see what I'm doing here? The niyyah itself, the intention, has made that action which is by itself permissible, impermissible now. That, believe it or not, brothers and sisters, is very similar to some of the interactions that we have with people of the opposite gender. Right? We think it's being okay and it's all right, but we've really got to check our intentions. What is our intention in doing this? And this is where the story about sincerity comes into play with Salah ad-Din. He recognized he didn't hear any Quran. And he thought, man, there's a problem here because these people are not praying. When he went in the tent, he realized, no, they're actually even more steeped in Salah. So what I heard was what I thought something would be problematic. It actually turns out to be a blessing. Shaitan, we have to recognize. The Prophet ﷺ said he was walking with his wife in the dark one night, and he passed by two companions. And he told them, "This is my wife," as he's walking by. The people responded to the Prophet ﷺ, "Ya Rasulullah, we would not have, you don't have to worry about it. We wouldn't have accused you of being with somebody else." What did the Prophet ﷺ respond? He said, I'm said that because indeed shaitan runs through the blood and the veins of people. I mean, it may, it's fine. I'm with my wife, but you don't know what other people are thinking. You don't know what they're doing. And shaitan is like that. Shaitan is like that. He's deceptive every step of the way. He can make things that are seemingly nice to you, because of the intention or what you're doing, look completely impermissible. How many people here have seen that movie, The Usual Suspects? Just you, Omar? Anybody? Nobody's seen it? Golly, man, I'm old. All right, seriously, George Joshua, somebody in my age group. You see, okay, Adam, there we go, Adam, alhamdulillah. I got one guy, and there, Uzma, there's, okay, alhamdulillah. Usual Suspects is a very interesting movie. There's one particular line in that movie, and it makes more sense if you know what the movie's about, but in this case, you don't, so it's all right. A guy by the name of Kaiser Sose, he says the following line. He says, "The greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince the world he didn't exist." You guys follow that? The greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince the world he didn't exist. Sometimes we think we're invulnerable to shaitan. Sometimes we think we've got it all under control. But the greatest trick the devil ever played was to make it look like he's not in the picture. He's not there at all. You don't have to worry about him because you're that good. You are that pure. You've got that much sincerity in you. So we've got to recognize, brothers and sisters, that every step of the way, we must check our intentions. So that's the first part. Right? I wrote I up here for intentions.